If your hips are feeling tight, weak, or painful, then this is the video for you. My name is Velmanator. I'm also known as the Velmanator. And today we're going to talk about how to strengthen your hips. If you happen to sit all day long, which is probably the vast majority of it, or if you're someone who's worried about the strength and mobility in your hips, or if you are someone who is very active and you still are having some issues with your hips, then this is the video for you. So I want to help you keep your strength and lessen a bit of that stiffness in your hips as we age, because if we don't keep them mobile and active, then we're going to have issues with trying to stay mobile and active. And hips is a very foundational joint, and we need to make sure that we're keeping them strong, active, healthy, and flexible. So let me explain to you why this is important. If you have weak hips, then that means your knees are going to be weak, your ankles are going to be weak, you're not going to be as stable, it's going to mess with your stability, you're going to have other problems structurally as far as keeping and maintaining your balance. The health of the hips really matters. Briefly, let me explain to you about the anatomy of the hip. It is a ball and socket joint, and what happens is this is your acetabulum and this is the top of the humerus bone, and what happens is it is inside of your socket just like that, so it has to move around just like this. So the movements that your ball and socket hip joint is responsible for, the movements are going to be abduction, adduction, turning inside and out just like this, extension, this, extending the leg back, and flexion. Some of the common problems that we see with our hip mobility, a lot of us maybe have desk jobs, and so that's going to contribute to the stiffness and the pain in the hips. Sometimes there's impingement, and there's also weakness, and the muscles that surround your hips are going to be important in strengthening those muscles to be able to keep the mobility in your hips, as well as maintaining the strength and flexibility of your ball and socket joint. Most of the time we find that our glute muscles, which is a big common problem, our glute muscles are not engaged, and our adductors, which of course is going to be our inner thighs, those muscles are not strengthened or engaged enough. And if we start with those two strengthening as well as providing flexibility of those muscle groups, then essentially we can be on our way to stronger hips. You're going to need mobility in your hips before you're going to want to start strengthening them. So what I'm going to do is walk you through a couple of different exercises as far as mobility and strengthening and of course flexibility. So let's go ahead and get started. But the main thing you're going to need is maybe some dumbbells, but the weight of your body will certainly help out. And also a band or any sort of band that you can put around above your knees to be able to provide some resistance. Let's just begin with some warming up for the hips so that we can move, just basically providing some lubrication for that joint. So let's just begin with some side-to-side steps, just like this. Just side to side, gentle stepping. We'll just do this for a few moments. Nice, side to side. And then we're going to start with a march. So you're going to lift your knees up to the front. Maybe thinking about your knees coming up to about belly button level. So it doesn't matter the pace. You can speed up the pace if you feel like that'll get you a little bit more warm. And just kind of warm up those hips. Keep those knees just lifting, alternating just like this. Nice. Good job. And again, if you can go faster, give me a little bit faster. And please remember that all we're trying to do is just warm up those hips so we can make sure we're moving safely through the exercises that I'm going to show to you. Keep those knees lifting as high as you can. If you want to go faster, maybe a little bit lower, or you can do a little bit of both. Really start to feel those hips low, faster, and then speed it up. Go faster, and then speed it up. Nice. Really starting to feel those hips warm up, yes. And then we're going to extend. So you're going to extend, activating the butt cheeks, alternating those hips back just keep lifting back, squeezing the butt cheek. Lift and extend those hips. Extend. Nice job. Keep those extensions. Keep that extension going. Lift and extend. Or if you cannot lift the foot, tap the toe back, bring it back to the front, alternating back, right? So lift and tap. Try to make sure that moves from the hip, right? So lift and tap, lift and tap. Still feeling that nice warmth coming over into the body. Getting everything nice and warmed up, especially in those hips. Keep lifting back, alternating. Good job. And then we're gonna open and close the hip. And by that I mean we're just gonna rotate it open and close, almost like maybe you're doing the twist or like an Elvis move. That's not stanky leg, this is stanky leg. That's not where we're going with this. We're gonna try and turn in and pivot out for those hips. Turn in and out. And think about the knee pointing in towards the other knee and out. Don't be afraid to bend the base leg while we're doing that. Open and close it in and out. Nice job. And then we're going to shift our weight onto the other foot. Do the same thing here. Open and close. Looking good. Nice work. Open and close. I'm just breathing hard already. And we're only focused on one specific thing, which is our hip joints. We're going to focus on the surrounding muscles as well. Nothing wrong with that. In and out. Good job. All right. So back to the side to side. Hopefully that woke up the hips and we're starting to feel that a little bit. So now let's go into some just very basic and effective exercises for these hips, right? First up, these are called glute bridges. And what you can do, I'm going to show you a couple of different angles with this, a couple of different options with this if you need to. All right, we're lying down. And this move is with flat feet. You're gonna press your hips up as high as you can. I am pressing into my heels, lifting my butt up, and exhale, pressing down. Lift up and down. Here's what it looks like. From this point of view, you're lifting up and down. I'm still pressing into my heels deeply to get deep inside the hip muscles. Lift up and down, and then you're gonna lift up. But as you're lifting up, you're opening up the knees and then dropping it down, opening up and dropping down, open and drop, open and drop, right? You can also do one heel at a time, just press straight up and lower down, right? Really feel that. And you can try and lift up and out in that same way. You have to have a lot of strength to be able to do it that way. But again, I'm just giving you different progressions. You can also add a band. This is going to add a lot more intensity, just so you know. It's going to climb through there and it's above my knee joints. I'm just going to activate those same moves. Remember, your legs do actually weigh something, so I want you to make sure that that counts too. So you're just lifting straight up and you're pressing against the band, or you're having your feet a little bit wider and lifting just so that you have the ability to press against the band. And again, you can lift up, open the knees, drop it down, lift up, open and down, open and down, lift up and down, right? So that's one that you can do. You can also lay onto your side. Remember, you can do all of these movements without the band, okay? I'm just demonstrating with the band. I am in the fetal position, so my knees are coming up towards me by a 90-degree angle, and you're just lifting and lowering down. We're trying to keep our feet together, and we're pressing that top leg, lifting as high as we can, and lowering it down. Lifting up, these are called clams, in case you're wondering. Lifting all the way up, and lowering it down. Nice job. And of course, you do one side, bring it all the way over, and do the other side. Open wide, and closing it down. You can also do this if you're having issues with lying down. You can also press from an up-seated position, open and close, just like that. Or Also this, if you have that movement in you, also an option. All right, another thing you can do is just lateral steps. Lateral steps, again, with or without the band. With or without the band. Lateral steps. If you don't have the space, you can make it side-to-side steps. Maybe a tiny bit of a knee bend in the center as you're stepping out. Bring it back together. Side-to-side, step touch, right? Step touch just like that. Yep, and then you can also stand with your feet a little bit wider than hip width apart and just open and close. A little bit of a a little bit of a knee bend with that if you can. Just kind of butterfly those knees in and out, just like that. Also, if you need some sort of balance component, or if you need balance help, check balance, you can grab onto the chair, or you can use the chair or some sort of balance stick like a broom handle, and you can just lift and lower to the back, squeeze the butt cheeks back, lift back, and again, all of these, remember, you can do without the band, and lift it back and lower. Make sure that move is originating from the hip, and just lifting and lower, just like that. If you need these moves from the chair, if you need these moves from the seated position, you can also do some of these from the seated position. Try to keep your ankles and your big toes together, and you're just pressing against the band, sitting up nice and tall, always checking with that posture, pressing against the band, open and close, one side at a time, if that helps, and then the other side. So try it with the feet together, hip width apart, open and close, just like that. So essentially you're doing these clams from the chair. So if you were lying down, remember the one we did lying down, open and close the clams from the chair, just like that. All right, just like we did in the warm-up, you can rotate. You can keep the knee or the toe onto the ground, rotate that knee in, rotate it out, rotate it in, rotate it out, right? With the band on it, or with no resistance whatsoever. Open and close the hip, just like that, and rotate it around. Another move that you can do with or without the band is an RDL, or what we like to call flamingos. I'm sure you have your own name for them, but you're trying to lift up, and remember, with or without the band, and all the way down. You can also add weights to this if you need to. Lift all the way up and all the way down. Trying to get that leg up as high as you possibly can. Do not be afraid to bend the base leg to get into that. All the way down and all the way up. Right? All the way down and all the way up. And of course, you have to switch sides. Really strong hips, just like that. All the way up and all the way down. Nice job. Single leg deadlifts are amazing because they also help with your strength, your flexibility, as well as your balance. What you can also do, your bench certainly does not have to be this high, but what you could do is do step ups, and again, we can get rid of the band if you need to, but just stepping up onto a surface that's a little bit challenging for you, lifting all the way up and all the way down. And I have an extension for my opposite hip on the other side. All right, so here's a couple of different stretches. I'm going to show you different ways of putting the stretch in. So from the standing position, you can above the knee, cross the ankle, very common stretch, above the knee and sit back. And think about pressing down on the inside of that knee. Same stretch we can do from that seated position. If you want to try to avoid the chair since we always sit so much, right? But you're pressing down on the inside of the knee, checking with the posture, pressing down, and you can keep this crossed over, turn and twist, and enjoy a stretch that way as well. It's a little bit deeper inside that hip for that stretch. Same stretches can also apply for the ground. Ankle just above the knee, same thing. You start off down here and then lift up, and then of course to be able to turn and twist, same way we did in the chair, doing it from the floor, giving it a couple of long deep breaths. Then we're moving into inner thigh stretches which we call butterfly. You can press down on the inside of those thighs. And that's an inner thigh stretch. And then you want to try and stretch the front of those thighs. You can start here in a tabletop position, and then from here you can press or walk the knees back. Press down into the ground, or press the hips down towards the floor. Lifting up. Another good way is stretch those hip flexors, is bring one leg out in front of you and then try to press the hips to the front, all the way up. Another good way to get to that, if you cannot kneel very successfully, is try to lay down onto the ground. Bring your arms out into a T and see if you can lift that foot back. It does not have to touch the ground on the opposite side, but just trying to stretch it out there is really good. So those are just a few stretches to help with your flexibility in your hips. So remember this, a strong hip is a pain-free hip. Strong, flexible, and mobile keeps you pain-free in the hips. And so with any of your joints really. But I'm gonna leave you with a few different tips. Make sure that you're taking movement breaks throughout your day. Try to avoid as much as you can long bouts of excessive sitting without bursts of movements somewhere in between there. Maybe you can set reminders for yourself to be able to stand. Make sure that you are not skipping the stretches before and after your workouts. That is so important, especially as we age. It's really important to make sure that you are getting some flexibility movements in there too. Try to prioritize strength over stretching. So try these exercises and let me know how you feel, or if you're feeling any of that in the comments below. I'd really appreciate it. Please like, subscribe, or share if you found any of this helpful. Don't forget to check out the link to find your workout for you exclusively for the hips, incorporating everything that you just learned in this video today. What the fuck is this move?